Have you ever had the thought that if you just get enough experience at the poker table, and I suppose get kicked in the head enough times, that you'll automatically toughen up and no longer experience mindset difficulties? I've heard this line of thinking from a number of players, and in today's video, I want to get into whether or not this is actually so. In case you're new around these parts, my name is Dr. Tricia Cardner, and I'm going to break down the ins and the outs of how expertise works and why it's probably not enough to cure all the mindset problems that might ail you. So, if that sounds interesting to you, let's get into it. When most of us get started with poker, we're in phase one of the competency hierarchy, which is where, in general, we're unable to identify patterns. That is, we don't have hand ranges that we're adhering to, we don't know how to do hand reading, we're just following some sort of simplified strategy about the game and hoping for the best. Now, hopefully, this phase doesn't last too long for you or me or any of us, and we're able to move on to the next phase. Once we step into the next phase of the competency journey, we really get into strategy building. In this phase, we are starting to be able to identify patterns. We've learned some strategy and some methods, and at least some of the time, we can make good decisions and good plays. The highest phase of competency building is the expert phase. And in this phase, we're able to identify patterns. We have excellent strategy and methods. And here's what's most important, we are able to take right action. And by right action, I mean that action which is in our own best interest. Most players find going from phase one to phase two is easy enough with some time and repetition and study. And I'm sure if you're listening to this right now, you've blown past stage one and you're at least well into stage two. If not, you should check out my book, Purposeful Practice for Poker, with my co author, Gareth James. I'll leave a link for it in the description box below. But in that book, we teach you more about how to study so that you can advance through the phases rather quickly. I do want to let you know that it is significantly more challenging to go from phase two to phase three expert status. And that's because the human mind follows the path of least resistance. That is, the brain likes to seek out comfort and pleasure and avoid pain. But to be a winning poker player, you've got to go against this. You've got to push through negative limitations and do the right thing. And that is definitely the path of most resistance. It's been my experience that going from phase two to phase three is going to require some psychological training. It's not just a matter of putting in your time at the tables, because if you want to make this leap, you're going to have to learn to understand and manage your own thoughts and emotions. And most people are not able to do this without some sort of mental skills psychological training. I recently worked with a poker player whom most observers would definitely consider an expert player. This is a player who's been highly profitable, made lots of money, certainly knows exactly what to do. But interestingly enough, he has a real roadblock when it comes to seven-figure scores. This player can do everything that needs to be done to get to high six figures, but once you start getting into seven-figure territory, he would start to self-sabotage. So I'm sure you can take away from the example I just gave you that this player has a lot of experience and time in the seat playing, and yet he still has some significant emotional blocks. My own training indicates to me that this player is in some ways stuck in phase two. He has not gotten to expert status when it comes to seven-figure scores. Because this player didn't fully understand his thoughts and emotions, he was lacking in the ability to take right action. When you understand your thoughts and emotions, you're going to have a lot more control over your behaviors, and that's going to give you a tremendous advantage over your competitors. Improving performance involves changing behavior, which is much easier to do when you're aware of your own mental patterns. If you want to become an expert poker player, you are going to have to develop two different skill sets. The first set is around learning to play, and it's going to require logic, intellect, and study. The second set is around execution, which requires an entirely different set of skills. Most importantly, it requires you to develop the ability to deal with and tolerate discomfort. As you're developing as a poker player, a lot of your learning is going to center around the idea that you should only take plus EV lines, and you're going to learn a lot about identifying those lines. But where it falls short is that it is one thing to identify a plus EV situation, but it is quite another to take right action. One of the things that fascinates me so much about poker is that while you can have the strategy side and the logic all taken care of, if you neglect the emotional side, it is going to cause you problems because most players neglect learning about how to execute in the heat of battle. And if you happen to be in a downswing, it's even more challenging to execute in the heat of battle. So that's why I say just having experience, time in the seat is not going to be enough to make you a well rounded expert. Hopefully, I've convinced you that it takes concerted effort on your part to build up your mental game such that you can be a true poker expert. In that vein, I wonder what other plans you have to enhance your mindset. How are you actively working to improve and enhance your mental game? I'd love it if you'd come over to my private Facebook group, the Poker Mindset Mastery Lab, and leave me a comment letting me know. Until next time, I hope you'll keep working on that mindset.